Hello guys, I would like to make a video. I would like to record a video about the lab practical. It's going to be a short review. We're going to be using mainly the lab practical handout for your lab practical number 1. And remember guys, you're going to be using these terms. These terms, they're going to be in your exam. You have to memorize these terms. And you're missing here the mouth. And I'm going to show you in a second maybe 2 slides from the gastrointestinal tract organs that you don't have here, but it's going to be in the exam. This is one slide you're going to see in your exam that you don't have in your handout. It's about the oral cavity. And guys, we're going to be asking about this part, the gingiva. You have to know which kind of epithelium do you have here, and remember it's going to be stratified squamous. This part of the oral cavity or your mouth. Other slide maybe you cannot find in the handout is going to be this one. This is the colon or large intestine, and you're going to have maybe a question about these cells for the mucus production. These are the goblet cells. Then remember, you're going to have then these slides. They are not in the handout, but they're going to be in the exam for sure. For histology, you're going to have maybe 10 or 11 questions, and it's going to be several glands. You have endocrine glands and their secretion. You have to know what kind of cells you have in the islets of Langerhans, and you have to know what kind of hormone is produced, for example, for the alpha or beta cells, and you have to know these hormones, insulin and glucagon, are produced here. Maybe you're going to have a picture of the pituitary gland, and you have to know which is the organ. I remember, as usual, you have to know the 4 most important layers of the gastrointestinal tract. Always going to be the mucosa, and then you have the submucosa, the muscularis, and the serosa. Remember, you're going to have serosa every single time you have peritoneum. And remember the 3 layers you have for the tunica mucosa. You're going to have the epithelium. By the way, this epithelium is going to be different. If we have the esophagus or we have the mouth, we're going to have stratified squamous. And if we have the gastrointestinal tract, the lower organs for absorption, then you have a different kind of epithelium, which is simple columnar epithelium. And again, you're going to be identifying in the colon the goblet cells for the mucus production. I don't remember if we have any image regarding the liver or the tongue. And guys, we're going to have 20 or more questions about muscles. And then you have to be aware of the name and mainly the function. But we have some insertions and origins. Then we have right here, we have this. These charts are very important. Why? Because we're going to be checking only a few origins and insertions. It's going to be maybe 3 or 4. And you have to know the name of the places for origin and insertion just for these muscles and these muscles. You don't need to look for every single muscles, only these in your review. Then check again the origin and insertion for these muscles, the Sternocleidomastoid, the rectus abdominis, the deltoid, the latissimus dorsi, trapezius, masseter, visorius, and gluteus maximus, sartorius, biceps femoris, gastrocnemius, and tensor fasciolata. Guys, by the way, check your questions. If you're hearing about the which is the structure. It couldn't be a muscle. It should be maybe an aponeurosis. If you hear something about which is the muscle, then you have to pay attention to your question. Then are asking you about the muscle, the name of the muscle. Maybe you can see which is the structure or which is the white structure. Then it's going to be the fascia, or it's going to be the aponeurosis, or maybe any other structure made of connective tissue. This video here can be useful, but I think your videos, what you have in your sessions, your Blackboard Collaborate Ultra sessions are shorter, and maybe they have more names you're going to be using. Remember, again, you're going to have the glands, and maybe you're going to know, you have to know, actually. For example, if we're looking this, we have to know here, you have the islets and the names of the hormones produced in the islets. It's going to be insulin or glucagon. Regarding the thyroid, I don't remember the thyroid, I don't remember the liver, but for sure we don't have any, I don't remember the tongue as well. I remember the gastrointestinal tract, always going to be asking about the layers, and remember this whole layer is the mucosa, and here we have the epithelium, and in the esophagus we have the stratified squamous epithelium, and we have the same epithelium for the mouth. And this is the space. Remember, if you're asked about a space, then it's going to be the lumen. It's not a layer. The space is the lumen. Then you have this part, the whole part. It's this segment. It's the lamina propria in pink here. And then you have this small part is the muscularis of the mucosa. All of it, it's the mucosa. Then you have the submucosa here, and then you have the muscularis. This is esophagus. It's going to be always 4 layers, remember that. And you're going to have as well for the stomach, maybe you're going to have another slide identifying the layers. It's very important you remember the layers, guys. This slide is going to be for sure in your exam. You have to know which kind of substance is produced in the cells, these cells, parietal cells, and what kind of substance is produced for the chief cell. Another important thing here, guys, we're going to look for these particular. These for sure is going to be in your exam, the period patches. And remember this structure, it's located in the submucosa, and you're going to be identifying the period patches for sure. Here again, the period patches. We're going to be using a lot of these slides, guys, in the exam. Remember the colon, the goblet cells. And regarding the muscles, guys, we're going to have a lot of muscles. We're going to have muscles from the head, from the neck, from the limbs, and the thorax and abdomen. Remember, if we have these muscles, for example, it's going to be the occipital frontalis, and this is the frontal belly, and this is the occipital belly, and this part is not a muscle. This part is an aponeurosis. Remember that. A main muscle here is going to be the orbicularis, and we have 2 of them. We have the oculi and we have the oris. Orbicularis are very important, guys. And here we have the sternocleidomastoid, and remember, one curiosity about these muscles, usually we have the origin of the muscles on the proximal part, and the insertion is the distal part. This is on the contrary. We have the origin right here. It's the distal part. We have the origin in the sternum and the clavicle, and the insertion is going to be here in the mastoid apophysis, here, right here in the temporal bone. Remember, for these muscles, every single muscle is going to be important, the names and the function, guys. And here is very important, you can see the names. You have the thyroid hyoid, it's from the thyroid to the hyoid bone, and you have the sternocleidomastoid as well, and you have the omohyoid. All of them are attached to the hyoid bone. Important here is going to be your, let me see, I'm going to stop here because I think now here, very important, guys. We're going to have muscles. You have to identify if it's the anterior region. Remember, the whole anterior region, it's full of muscles for flexion. Then, for example, you have the bicep brachii here. Remember, it has two heads, the bicep brachii, and this is for flexion of your forearm over your arm. And when you have the anterior region of your body, remember, you're regarding the patient in front of you in anatomical position. This is the anterior region. Then these muscles should be flexor. On the side of the thumb, we have the flexor radialis, and on the side of the ulna, we have the flexor ulnaris. Flexor carpi ulnaris and flexor carpi radialis. Remember that. This is the anterior region, guys. And the posterior region are extensors. Then we have extensors for the posterior region of the arm. And on the side of the pinky toe, we have the ulnaris, and the side of the thumb, we have the radialis. It's the same thing for the arm, and here we have the triceps brachii, and this is for extension. Then posterior region, extension. I know for sure you're going to be using most of the superficial muscles, and for sure we're going to have this muscle, which is the deltoid, in your exam, guys. Remember, this is the deltoid, and this is for abduction, abduction of your arm. And what else here, which is important for your exam? I think this is going to be in your exam, especially the surface of the muscles. This muscle, the pectoralis, is going to be in your exam. The aponeurosis, they're going to be in your exam. Remember, you have this line in here is called Linea Alba. Linea Alba. If you're asked about any white structure, it should be or an aponeurosis or a line. Then, which is this line? That should be Linea Alba. Which is this white structure? It should be or aphasia or an aponeurosis. Remember, you have here the obliques for abdomen, and the you have three layers here. You have the external oblique, which is going down. The internal oblique, they're going up, and you have the transverse muscle for the abdominals as well. What else is important here? Let me stop. This is another question, guys. Remember, the back muscles, the deeper layer is going to be three muscles. Spinalis is the medium one, the medial one. Longissimus is the middle one, and the iliocostalis is the outer one. Remember our muscles here, the muscles for injection in your buttocks is going to be the gluteus medius. These wider and stronger muscle is the gluteus maximus. Remember, we have three layers. Maximus is the outer one, then deeper than this is the medius, and the inner one is the minimus. If you are asked about the injection muscle for your arm, it's going to be the deltoid, and if you're asked about the injection muscle for your buttocks, it's going to be the gluteus medius. And here